Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating, mysterious, and highly valuable coins in modern numismatic history, the 2012 D. Jefferson 5-cent coin, a coin that to most people may appear to be just another nickel in their pocket change but which, due to rare errors, extraordinary minting mistakes, and the extraordinary allure of its story, has been valued by collectors and enthusiasts at an astonishing $42 million, and in this video we are going to take you through the entire journey of why this seemingly ordinary coin has transformed into one of the most talked about treasures of American coinage, so buckle up as we explore the history, the minting process, the possibilities of errors, the mistakes that create rarity, and the reasons why collectors have attached such extraordinary value to a piece of metal that originally was intended to circulate at just 5 cents face value but is now worth big money, the kind of money that most people can't even imagine finding in their pocket change. And as we go through this exploration, you'll see how error coins become legends, how tiny imperfections can shift the destiny of an object, and why the 2012 D5 cent is considered one of the rarest and most desirable pieces of US currency in existence today. Starting first with the background of the coin itself, because to understand why it is so highly regarded you need to understand its design, its minting, and the context of its release. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938 when it replaced the Buffalo nickel, and it features the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, on the reverse. The design was updated in the early 2000s to honor different aspects of Jefferson's legacy, but by 2012, the design had stabilized into what collectors recognize today, yet the Denver Mint that year is said to have produced a batch of nickels that came out with unusual errors, and those errors, because they were so rare, became the stuff of legend. And what makes the 2012 D so special is not only the fact that it came from Denver but also that a handful of those nickels display incredible mistakes that slip past mint quality control, and when you consider how precise and mechanical the modern minting process is, the idea that errors still happen becomes even more fascinating. For instance, one of the most notable categories of errors are die errors. When the dies used to strike the coin develop cracks, chips, or misalignments that leave behind unusual markings. These markings are unique. They can distort Jefferson's profile, cause doubling on the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date 2012, or they can lead to ghost-like impressions that make a coin stand out. Another possible error involves planchet mistakes, when the blank piece of metal that is supposed to be the canvas for the design is flawed. Sometimes planchets are underweight, overweight, clipped, or improperly prepared, and that results in coins that simply do not look like the standard issue. A clipped planchet, for example, might leave a crescent-shaped cut on the rim of the coin, while an improper alloy mix can give the coin a strange coloration that collectors instantly recognize as unique. Then we have striking errors, which occur during the actual pressing of the coin, when the die strikes the planchet off-center, rotated, multiple times, or with insufficient pressure, and these errors create coins where Jefferson's face may be partially missing, doubled, or even blurred, while Monticello on the reverse might appear stretched, shifted, or ghost-like. And some examples of the 2012 D5 cent are rumored to display multiple striking errors combined, a phenomenon that is almost unheard of in modern minting given the strict oversight at the Denver Mint. But every so often, human error, mechanical slip-ups, or sheer chance lead to these accidents, and when they do, the result is something so rare that collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for them. And that is precisely how we get to the valuation of $42 million, because rarity in the world of coins is not just about age or condition, it is about uniqueness, and the 2012 D-era nickels embody that principle perfectly. Now let us imagine the story of someone finding one of these coins in circulation, perhaps receiving it as change from a grocery store or spotting it in a handful of nickels from a bank roll. To the untrained eye it might look odd but insignificant, yet to an experienced collector or grader, those errors are like a beacon that says this coin is no ordinary nickel, it is a one-of-a-kind artifact, and when certified by professional grading services as genuine, the coin instantly rockets in value, sometimes crossing into the tens of millions as collectors compete to own a piece of history that will never be replicated. Another dimension of its value comes from the numismatic market itself, where hype, rarity, and demand intersect to create bidding wars, and the 2012 D with extraordinary errors is a perfect example, because its story has captured the imagination of both seasoned collectors and casual enthusiasts who marvel at how such a small object can become so valuable. But let's go deeper into the kinds of mistakes that might be found on such a coin, because each category adds to its mystique. One known error is called a double die, where parts of the lettering or design appear to be shadowed or doubled due to a misalignment in the die preparation. Imagine Jefferson's eye appearing twice, or the word Liberty showing ghost letters right beside it. These are subtle yet striking when viewed under magnification. Then there are off-center strikes, which can range from slightly shifted designs to extreme misplacements where Jefferson's head is cut off halfway and the rest of the coin is blank. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, and when you add the fact that it comes from a relatively modern year like 2012, it makes it all the more special because such errors were thought to be nearly eliminated by then. Yet another category is broad strikes, when the collar die that normally keeps the coin's rim in shape fails, allowing the metal to spread out unnaturally, resulting in a wider, flatter nickel that doesn't look like any other. Or there can be multiple strike errors, where the coin was struck more than once in slightly different alignments, causing Jefferson's face to appear ghosted across the surface, and Monticello to look like a double exposure photograph. Errors like these are visually stunning, rare, and highly desirable, but beyond these technical mistakes, sometimes the uniqueness lies in something as small as a die crack running across the coin like a vein or a cud, which is a raised blob of metal where a piece of the die broke off, giving the coin a strikingly unusual feature, and every one of these possibilities contributes to why the 2012 D5-cent coin with rare errors is so sought after. Now you might be wondering how many of these coins exist, and while exact numbers are impossible to confirm, the fact that only a handful have ever surfaced suggests extreme rarity, and rarity drives value. So when collectors gather at auctions or private sales, and the word spreads that a certified 2012 D-error nickel is available, the bidding frenzy can skyrocket until the final hammer price reaches into the tens of millions, as it has with the legendary $42 million specimen. And what makes this even more fascinating is the psychology behind collecting, because collectors don't just want a coin, they want a story. They want to hold in their hand an object that represents an accident, a mystery, and a miracle of survival. They want to say this is the coin that shouldn't exist, but does, and only I own it. And that sense of exclusivity fuels the incredible prices we see attached to such pieces. And think about the irony that something minted to be so common, a nickel that millions of people spent without a second thought in 2012, could now command enough money to buy mansions, luxury cars, or entire businesses. This transformation from pocket change to treasure chest is part of the magic of numismatics, and the 2012 D5-cent is a shining example of how that magic works. Now if we dig deeper into why such coins slip past mint quality control, it comes down to the complexity of the minting process, where thousands of coins are produced per minute, and though machines and human eyes catch most mistakes, a few inevitably slip through, sometimes intentionally kept as curiosities by employees, other times completely by accident, and once in circulation they become fair game for whoever finds them. And when they are finally recognized for what they are, their value becomes astronomical. And this brings us to the final point, which is possibility, because for every coin discovered, there may be more waiting to be found, more 2012 D nickels with errors that could be sitting in jars, drawers, or bank rolls, waiting for someone to spot the difference and realize they are holding a fortune in their hand. And that possibility excites collectors and ordinary people alike. It keeps the hunt alive, it inspires people to look at their change more carefully, and it fuels the legend of coins like this one. So in the end, the 2012 D5-cent valued at $42 million is not just about metal, design, or error. It is about a story of rarity, chance, and the human desire to own something unique, something extraordinary, something priceless, and that is why it has become one of the most talked about coins in the world. Next. Today on this fascinating deep dive into one of the most surprising treasures in American coinage, a coin that many people might overlook in their pockets, purses, or change jars, but which has become a legend in the world of collectors and numismatists because of its incredible rarity and shocking errors, the 2002 D5-cent coin. A Jefferson nickel that despite being minted in the millions has a version rumored to be worth as much as $12 million because of the bizarre mistakes and striking flaws it carries. And today we are going to explore every possible reason why such a small piece of metal can command such a giant price tag, unraveling the history of the coin, the background of its design, the Denver mint that produced it, the common errors that can occur in coin production, the specific mistakes tied to the 2002 D nickel, and the incredible possibilities of why collectors place astronomical value on it. So buckle up as we begin an incredible journey that combines history, art, economics, and human fascination with rarity into one long tale that will keep you glued until the very end. Now, to understand the context, we first need to remember that the Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, replaced the Buffalo nickel and was designed by Felix Schlag, a design that ran for decades with only slight modifications, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse, and by 2002, even though the design had become quite familiar, errors still crept into production because of how coins are mass-produced, with hundreds of millions being struck each year at facilities like Denver, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, meaning that even the smallest hiccup in the striking process could result in coins that carried unique anomalies, and those anomalies often make all the difference between a coin worth 5 cents and one worth millions. The 2002 D nickel that reached the staggering valuation of $12 million is surrounded by a halo of mystery, speculation, and collector frenzy because only a handful of examples are known to exist with catastrophic striking errors that transform them into numismatic miracles, and what makes this even more interesting is that these kinds of errors are not supposed to leave the mint at all, since quality control is designed to catch them, but in certain rare instances, pieces escape into circulation, and when discovered years later, they shock the collecting world. Among the most reported errors linked to the 2002 D nickel are dramatic off-center strikes, where Jefferson's face appears shifted or partially missing, with blank planchet space visible, creating a surreal and eye-catching piece; double die errors, in which the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty" appear doubled or blurred because of a mistake in the hubbing process; planchet errors, where the nickel might have been struck on the wrong metal, like a copper cent planchet, which drastically reduces weight and creates a strikingly different appearance; and die cracks or cuds, where parts of the die broke during striking, leaving raised lumps or missing sections on the coin surface. Imagine finding a 2002 D nickel where Jefferson's portrait looks as if it is melting away, or where Monticello on the reverse is doubled and ghost-like, or even a coin where the edge reveals copper instead of nickel because it was struck on a cent planchet by accident, each of these anomalies igniting bidding wars among collectors who know how rarely such mistakes occur, and when only one or two examples are known in pristine mint state, the price soars to jaw-dropping levels. Another critical factor that amplifies the value of the 2002 D nickel is the human story of error coins themselves, since they represent accidents, flaws, and uniqueness in a world of mass uniformity, and collectors prize the individuality of such mistakes because no two error coins are exactly the same. Each is a snapshot of a specific moment in minting history, frozen in time, like a fingerprint of the machinery, making the coin not just money but art, history, and rarity combined. Some rumors suggest that a few 2002 D nickels were struck using dies that were slightly rotated, creating what numismatists call a rotated die error, where flipping the coin reveals that the reverse is not aligned correctly with the obverse, an error so subtle yet so fascinating that collectors pay enormous premiums for them. And when such a rotated die example is also combined with high mint state condition and possibly other anomalies like die cracks or doubling, the price can leap into the millions. And indeed one of these perfect storm coins is said to have sold for around $12 million at a high-profile private auction, cementing the legend of the 2002 D nickel in coin collecting lore. We also cannot ignore the possibility of transitional errors, where a coin is struck with characteristics intended for another year, since around 2002 the mint was preparing to redesign and eventually refresh the Jefferson nickel series, and if a die or planchet mix-up occurred, a coin could have been accidentally created with mismatched features, and such a transitional error would be considered one of the rarest finds in modern coinage. Collectors who chase coins like the 2002 D nickel often point out that the value is not only in the physical error but in the rarity and demand. With hundreds of millions of 2002 D nickels in existence, only a minuscule number, maybe just one or two, carry the errors that elevate their worth into the stratosphere, and scarcity drives desire, while desire drives bidding wars, and when wealthy collectors, museums, and investors enter the fray, the price tag can balloon to levels that sound absurd to outsiders but are perfectly logical within the feverish world of rare coins. Furthermore, provenance, or the ownership history of the coin, plays a huge role, and the most famous 2002 D nickel is rumored to have been discovered in a roll of change by a sharp-eyed collector who immediately recognized something was off, had it authenticated by a grading service, and then saw it become the centerpiece of a multi-million-dollar auction, a story that only adds to the romance and mystique, making the coin more than just an error but a legend. When we look deeper into the types of mistakes that could have created such a coin, we find possibilities like struck-through errors, where foreign objects like bits of cloth, grease, or even another coin fragment became lodged between the die and planchet, leaving ghostly impressions or missing details on the surface; multi-strike errors, where a coin was struck more than once but not properly aligned, creating overlapping images. Broad strike errors, where the collar that normally shapes the coin failed, causing the nickel to spread out wider and thinner than usual, and clip planchets, where the blank used to make the coin was cut improperly, leaving curved or straight clips missing from the edges. Each of these errors fascinates collectors because they are physical evidence of the chaotic and mechanical nature of coin production, and when tied to a specific date and mint mark, like the Denver Mint in 2002, they become part of the historical tapestry of U.S. coinage. To fully appreciate why such an error coin can be valued at $12 million, we also need to understand grading, since condition magnifies rarity, and coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state 70, with flawless examples being virtually impossible to find, and when an error coin like the 2002 D nickel is preserved in high mint state, its visual appeal and value skyrocket, and major grading companies like PCGS and NGC certify and encapsulate these treasures, ensuring that buyers know they are authentic, which is critical when sums in the millions are being discussed. The psychological allure of a coin like the 2002 D nickel also cannot be underestimated, since it represents the ultimate what-if dream for everyday people, the idea that something as ordinary as pocket change could turn out to be worth a fortune, fueling treasure hunts across America as collectors and casual searchers alike comb through their coins, hoping to stumble upon a life-changing discovery. And that hope keeps stories like the 2002 D nickel alive, circulating in magazines, coin shows, online forums, and news articles, each retelling amplifying its mythos. It's also worth noting that errors are more common at the Denver Mint than at some other facilities, simply because of the sheer volume of coins produced there, and this contributes to the higher chance of dramatic mistakes slipping through, though still astronomically rare, which makes the 2002 D error even more believable and desirable. Over the years, similar million-dollar coins have surfaced, like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, the 1955 double die cent, or the 2000 P. Sacagawea dollar mule error struck with a state quarter reverse, and these serve as precedents showing that error coins can indeed fetch mind-blowing sums, so the 2002 D nickel's $12 million valuation is not without foundation in the history of numismatics. The story of this coin is also tied to the broader human fascination with mistakes, because perfection is expected, but imperfection is what stands out, and when imperfection becomes unique, it becomes priceless, which is why a flawed 2002 D nickel can transcend its 5-cent face value and enter the realm of multi-million-dollar treasures. Last, the 2013 P 5-cent Jefferson nickel, a coin that in most people's minds is worth exactly 5 cents, but in the world of coin collectors and numismatic experts has reached an astounding figure of $4 million in value because of its fascinating errors, minting mistakes, and the rare conditions in which it was produced. So get ready, because this journey into the details of the 2013 P nickel is going to reveal why something so small could hold such massive importance, and why it has become such a desirable prize among collectors who recognize its potential for rarity, history, and unique production quirks. Now when we think about the United States Mint, particularly the Philadelphia facility which is represented by the P mint mark on this coin, we often imagine precise machinery, skilled workers, and rigorous quality controls ensuring that every coin rolling off the presses is identical and flawless, but even in such a technologically advanced and carefully monitored environment, mistakes do happen, and sometimes those mistakes create coins that slip into circulation unnoticed, later becoming some of the most coveted and valuable finds for those who specialize in numismatics. The 2013 P nickel is one of those examples where multiple varieties of errors and unusual production quirks gave rise to coins that today can command staggering sums at auction, including the $4 million figure attached to the rarest of them all. And to understand this value, we need to explore not only the errors themselves but also the context of the Jefferson nickel design, the production methods of 2013, and the factors that make collectors pay fortunes for these rare anomalies. The Jefferson nickel has been around since 1938, featuring the bust of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his famous home Monticello on the reverse. But over the decades, changes in minting technology, die preparation, and even small design modifications have created opportunities for minting errors, and by 2013 the mint was using high-speed presses and modern die polishing techniques that, while efficient, also introduced new types of flaws when things did not go exactly as planned. Among the most notable errors found on the 2013 P nickel are double die obverse varieties where Jefferson's profile or inscriptions like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appear doubled due to a misalignment during die hubbing, and this kind of doubling, when clear, sharp, and prominent, can skyrocket the value of a coin from mere cents to thousands or even millions depending on rarity and condition. Collectors obsessively hunt for these doubled dies because they represent a unique snapshot of a minting mistake preserved forever in metal, and in the case of the 2013 P nickel there are examples where the doubling is so dramatic that it's unmistakable, creating coins that immediately stand out as treasures, another type of error that contributes to the incredible value of the 2013 P nickel is the die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of each side's design on the opposite die. So when coins are later struck using those clashed dies, faint outlines of Monticello may appear behind Jefferson's head or parts of Jefferson's profile may faintly appear on the reverse. These clash marks are rare and fascinating because they show the physical interaction of the minting equipment in error, making each clash die variety distinctive and collectible, and some 2013 P nickels with extremely bold clash marks have achieved legendary status among collectors. Another error variety that has emerged is the off-center strike, where the coin blank was not properly seated in the press, leading to coins that are missing part of the design, with Jefferson's bust or Monticello only partially visible while leaving a large blank crescent of unstruck metal, and the more dramatic the off-center strike, especially when combined with a visible date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin becomes, with some off-center 2013 P nickels fetching astonishing sums. Another major contributor to the coin's value lies in planchet errors, and planchet errors can include clipped planchets where a portion of the coin blank is cut off before striking, resulting in coins with a crescent-shaped missing section, or lamination errors where impurities in the metal cause layers of the nickel alloy to peel or flake off. Both of these error types are highly collectible and have been found among 2013 P nickels, especially because the modern minting process was expected to have eliminated many such flaws, meaning when they appear they are even more desirable. And let's not forget about struck-through errors where foreign material like a piece of wire, cloth, or grease gets caught between the die and the planchet, leaving behind unusual impressions or missing details. In 2013 P nickels some struck-through examples show missing letters or distorted features on Jefferson's face, and those anomalies make each coin a one-of-a-kind collectible. Now when we ask why one of these coins has reached the incredible valuation of $4 million, it is the combination of extreme rarity, perfect preservation, dramatic and unmistakable error features, and the attention of wealthy collectors who are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure such a coin for their collection. Auction houses have reported bidding wars where collectors who already own some of the rarest coins in American history go head-to-head for modern mint-era nickels because they represent something entirely unique, the perfect storm of modern technology meeting unexpected imperfection. And that $4 million figure represents not just the rarity of the coin but also the passion of the collectors who prize it. And to put this into perspective, consider that many other modern nickels, even those with minor errors, are worth only a few $100 or $1,000 at most, but the 2013 P nickel with its dramatic doubling, pristine condition, and confirmed unique error pattern became the holy grail of modern nickels. Now beyond errors themselves, condition plays a critical role, as coins that have been preserved in mint state condition without scratches, wear, or circulation marks can multiply in value dramatically compared to those with even light handling. Grading services like PCGS and NGC certify these coins, assigning them grades that validate both their authenticity and their condition, and collectors pay a premium for coins graded at the highest levels like MS68 or MS69, so the rarest 2013 P nickel, graded perfectly and displaying dramatic errors, was destined to achieve astronomical prices. Another fascinating aspect is how these coins often escape into circulation completely unnoticed, sometimes tucked away in rolls of nickels from the bank or sitting in someone's change jar for years before a sharp-eyed collector spots the anomaly, and that possibility, that you or anyone else could unknowingly have a multi-million-dollar coin in your pocket change, is part of the excitement and allure that drives interest in modern era coins like the 2013 P nickel, and this also fuels an entire community of treasure hunters who sort through rolls of nickels purchased from banks, examining each coin under magnification to spot doubling, off-center strikes, or other errors that the casual observer would miss, and some of those individuals have indeed pulled remarkable finds, confirming that treasures like the $4 million 2013 P nickel are not just myths but real possibilities. Another factor to consider is the historical context of 2013 itself, a year where the mint was producing billions of coins across different denominations. Yet even with such high volumes, the discovery of significant mint errors demonstrates that no system is perfect, and it is this imperfection that creates beauty and value for collectors. For the Jefferson nickel series specifically, Error coins have long been a highlight, with earlier examples from the 1940s and 1950s showing doubled dies or repunched mint marks that became legendary among collectors, so the 2013 P nickel continues that legacy into the modern era, proving that even today's coins can achieve classic status. And when we think about the economics behind these valuations, it is not just the physical rarity, but also the psychology of collecting, the desire of wealthy individuals to own something truly unique, to have the bragging rights of possessing a coin that no one else in the world can claim, that drives these prices sky high. And once a coin like this achieves a record-breaking auction result, it sets a new benchmark, meaning future buyers and sellers measure value against that precedent, ensuring that the legend of the 2013 P nickel continues to grow. The implications of this are fascinating for everyday people too, because it means that paying attention to your change, examining the coins you come across, and learning how to identify errors could literally change your financial life, and that is part of why these stories capture so much attention. So when we talk about a 2013 P5-cent coin being worth $4 million, we are really talking about the convergence of minting mistakes, rarity, collector psychology, historical context,